selected. Okay. Once you have the totals of the adjectives that you've selected, then you pick the high point, the high total, and plot that first. And plot that at or above the dotted line in the top half of that graph. Now, some of the more analytical people among us, their first question is, how do you plot a point on a line where there's no numbers? Well, the answer is anywhere you want to. So what we want to do is we want to plot the high point first and plot it at or above the dotted line in the top half of the graph. Then we look across there and we find the low number that we selected, and we plot that low point at or below the dotted line in the bottom half of the graph. And then we plot the other two behaviors in between, wherever they fall. Once we have the graph plotted, the dots on the graph, then we draw a line from the D to the I to the S to the C, and that gives us a real general idea of how you like to do things, how you're going to try to do the business. Now, I'm going to tell you at the end of this how you can get a much more accurate picture of yourself and an analysis with consultation with me to help you take advantage of what your strengths are. But what we have now is a picture. We've taken we've selected every adjective that in each column one at a time, and then we plotted the points down below. So this is basically a real rough picture of what your behavioral style is. Now, it's not perfect, it's not exact, but it's enough that we can make some general comments about how you should be doing the business and what kinds of things you should be doing. Now, look at the plot on the D line for wherever you plotted that D, high, low, in between, wherever you plotted it. The higher your D, the more bottom line oriented results you're going to be. Everything is about getting it done. The higher the D, if your D is really high, if your D is up in the top part of the graph there, then there's a good chance that you've walked at some point in your life, you've walked 2 blocks out of your way to start a fight with somebody. Not because you're mean or evil, it's because you saw a challenge, accepted it. People with real high Ds are battle-oriented people, and they love the contest. They love the challenge. If you have a really high D, if the D is your strongest behavior, then you're going to have a real strong drive to be in charge and be in control. That means you are going to need to see some results. The worst thing we can do to a high D is sit them in the back of the bus where they don't have any input whatsoever, can't even see the driver from back there. They can't stand that. If you are that high D, you need to be in control and in charge, and you need to see some things happening. Now, challenge for us in sales is that sometimes things don't happen the way we want them to. And so what you need to do as a D, instead of getting frustrated because the results aren't happening, what you need to do is step back a little bit and look and see, okay, what can I control? And the results will come if you do that, if you don't let yourself get frustrated. Now, the I, if you're strongest, if the highest plot on that graph we just made is the I, then you are our people person. You're our cheerleader. You're super optimistic and super enthusiastic about everything you do. In fact, an eye can fall down and break their leg and be happy about it because they only broke one leg. So everything the eye does is in positive terms, in upbeat enthusiasm is the watchword. If you are an eye, never ever end the day on a down note. If you've been hearing no all afternoon and suddenly it's your day is over, it's time to go get the kids, whatever the next activity is for you, never ever leave work or stop working on a down note. Even if you have to call an old friend and schedule a lunch meeting with them, anything positive will just change your whole outlook, and it will make tomorrow a lot easier for you. The other thing for you folks with the real high eye, whatever you do, make sure you ask for the order. Eyes believe in their heart that they can be friendly enough and enthusiastic enough that people will just call me and see if they can be part of it. Well, you can be friendly enough and you can be enthusiastic enough and energized enough, but it has nothing to do with people calling you to become part of it. You have to ask for the order. You eyes, every one of you should have a 3x5 index card with red ink, write in red ink, ask for the order, and lay it right there by your phone. Keep it in your handbook there. Keep it where you can see it, where you can remind yourself to ask for the order. For D's and I's, for people with D's and I's, the whole point of their success is how many times can I put myself in a position during the day to ask for the order, to ask somebody to sign up, to ask somebody to take our supplements. How many times during the day can I put myself in a position to do that? And that's what makes your success. Now, if your S is the highest point, you're going to be very, very process and procedure oriented. So the answer to doing more business is to have a process that identifies prospects and then turns them into team members. That's the process, because you're so good at following a process that once you get that process going, and by the way, asking for the order needs to be part of the process, because if it's not, S's have a real bad habit of taking everything personally. So if you ask me to become part of your team and I say no, there could be 100 reasons. I might think this is a great idea, but I had a little accident on the way into work this afternoon, and I'm not doing anything until we get the car fixed and I see what that's going to be. So there's 100 things that could keep somebody from saying yes and becoming part of your team. Don't take it personally. Remember this, it's only business. Let it go by. Whenever if you're an S, have your process set up so that you do A, B, C, and then D is asking for the order. And no matter what the results, we love to hear them say yes, but even if they say no, the next part of your process is on to the next person, so that you don't focus on that one individual that just told you no, and it ruins the rest of your afternoon. S's, another thing about S's, if your S is high enough, you should never, ever do anything other than then introduce yourself, who you are and what you're doing, and then say, how can I help you? S's have an amazing ability. When an S tells somebody, how can I help you, they'll sit and think for a minute, and then they'll say, well, could you help me get these groceries in my car? They'll come up with, see, I'm a real high D. I can ask my best friend, how can I help you? And he'll guard his checkbook or cover his wallet, because there's no doubt in his mind that I'm going to help, but he also knows that it's probably going to cost him something. He's going to have to help me in return. But the S has an uncanny ability to say, how can I help you? And people just they just fall right in line. So listen to what they say, and then think about, well, okay, what have they said they need to do? They need extra money for a vacation. They need extra money to pay off a mortgage. They need what, and then you look and say, okay, what can we do in our business, and by bringing them on the team and giving them the opportunity to get those things that they just told you they needed. Now the C is very analytical. Everything is facts and data with the C. The C is a systems operator. Everything has to be in a system. And the C, we have research. We have research going back as far as you want to go. We have results that we can see. All of those things are important for the C to be able to sell and to build a team. So it's almost like the S in the process. The C is a systems operator. You just have to make sure that your system is working. Now, the thing to remember for S's and C's is that people won't decide on their own. S's believe in their heart that they can, see, I's believe in their heart they can be friendly enough that people will come on board. S's believe in their heart that they can give me enough information about what they're doing and what they're proposing to me that I will just naturally come on. I will naturally come on board. That doesn't happen. You have to make sure that you're asking for the order. Now, for I's and S's, people with that I and S combination, you are talking to a lot of people. I's and S's know everybody. So always, always ask for a referral. In fact, I would think the lifeblood of your team, you and your team, is how many times during the day can you ask for a referral? How many times during the day can you ask for a referral? And one of the best times to ask somebody for a referral is when they say no. When you give them a proposal, you talk to them about coming onto the team, and for whatever reason they say no, you should come immediately right back with, do you know anybody else I could talk to about this? Now, what happens when you do that is you just raise your level of competence and authority in their mind 2 or 3 notches, so that maybe they'll think about this for 2. And also what you've done is you've forced them to rethink their decision. Maybe I should be doing this. If you're that competent that you're going to ask me for a referral after I've told you no, I probably ought to rethink my decision. But the idea is that you ask for a referral. Now, what you want to do is, what you would like to do is make it statistically impossible for you to fail. And here's how you do that. You can only make so many contacts in a day. I don't care how aggressive you are as a D or how many people you know as an I. It's physically impossible for you to make more than a certain number of contacts in a single day. So for you to do more business, you only have the people you're working with. That's it. In other words, if you do half as much business this month as you wanted to, it may be physically impossible for you to talk to twice as many people next month to hit your goal. But what you can do, and this is back to the statistical part of it, what you can do is you can make each contact statistically more in your favor. So we call up somebody and we talk to them about, we've got a reason for calling them. We want them to use our supplements. We want them to sign up for coaching. We want them to become part of our team, whatever it is. And then we have an oh, by the way. Always have an oh, by the way sale. Because at the end of the conversation, you say, oh, by the way, if you've got just one more minute, let me tell you about some great results we've had with this new product. And so now, oh, by the way, we've got an opportunity. In other words, on this one contact, we've asked for the order twice. And then at the end of that, we ask for a referral. So what we've done in the day is we've actually asked for 3 times as many orders as people we contacted. at some point in time, it becomes statistically impossible for us to fail. Now, let's go to the workbook handout that we had put up there and look at page 4. I believe it's SP4 in the workbook, because this is where we're going to describe the behavioral styles to you, D, I, S, and C. And then we'll take just a minute right at the end to show you how this works with clients and customers and prospects and team members. Now, you've got page 4 out there, and you might want to write these percentages. Well, it's on the page, a couple of pages before. 19% of the population are high Ds, 32% are high Is, 35% are S's, and 14% are high C's. So if we're looking at somebody that has a real high D, there's a couple of things that we need to remember. Number one, we need to underline on this list, decision maker. That's one of the most important things to remember about the high D. They are decision makers. That's why we always give them an alternative. Always give them one or two alternatives. You should always, every time you're talking to a high D, you should have a Cadillac plan, a Toyota plan, and a horse and buggy plan. And let them make the decision. See, once I get them on board, then I can upgrade and move them up to where I want. But all I want in the beginning is to really just get them on board. And D's love making decisions more than anything else on earth. They wake up in the morning, their first thought is, how can I tell more people what to do today than yesterday? They want to make decisions. So when you give them an alternative, and the best way to do it is to hit the high points. 2 is always better than 3. Never give them more than 3 high points, because their attention span is, they've got so many things going on, they won't stay with you. So hit the high points, 2 high points, and then ask for the order. Now, if they have learned that they have to ask for more information, or they'll ask you for it, and then you give it to them if they ask for it. But try this. Hit the high points and ask for the order, and see what kind of results you start getting with the I, or with the D. So another thing to remember about the D is that they are conflict-oriented people. They are battle-oriented people. And they can call you up and have a knockdown, drag-out battle, say terrible things about your family. And it does not mean that they're going to stop doing business with you. All it means is that they're having an angry day and you are handy. They're sharing it with you. So after the phone call is over, they've got it off their chest, they feel better, they'll call you up and take you to lunch. The I, the thing to remember about the I is that they are disorganized. They are very disorganized. If you go in an I's office, a flat spot is just a place to stack something. So if you find somebody, if you're working with a prospect or a team member that's an I, write down the important things. If there's something important, we have to have this form filled out and sent in by Friday. Well, Thursday afternoon, give them a call or send them an email, jog their memory. They have so many things going on that important form that we were supposed to submit got lost. So give them a chance to, but know this, their natural tendency is to be disorganized. So don't let that affect you in a negative way. Always have somebody else that just know that if you're planning the first, second, or third meeting with this high I, that they're either going to miss it altogether or be really late. So you've got 2 choices. You can get angry and upset because somebody stood you up, or you can call another high I and say, Ron, if things break just right on Thursday, could we have lunch? And I said, sure, come on by. Now you've got an alternative plan for yourself. If that first I, it lets that disorganization take over and they miss the meeting, then you've still got something productive that you can do with the time rather than sitting there and fretting and getting flustered because these people are not nice and why do I want to deal with any of them? Now, S stands for steadiness. And if we look down the list there, one of the things that we want to underline is loyal. These are the most loyal people you'll ever know. They will wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and the first words are, "How can I help you?" That's what they do. Now, the other thing to remember that's important about the I is one-on-one interaction. You go down to the primary influence there. One-on-one interaction and process-oriented. They love to have a process. I've got an idea that you guys have a really great process that you can plug people into. You've got a great process for becoming a team member, for becoming a distributor, for being a customer and using our supplements. You've got a process for all of that, and they love that. They love safety and security. The one-on-one interaction means that the relationship is the most important thing in the world to them. The high S will continue to buy products and services from you when somebody just 2 doors down from you has the same product at a cheaper price. But they'll still buy it from you because the relationship is so important to them. Now, the C stands for compliant, and what you want to underline there is analytical. These people are the ones that they figure the cost out to 4 decimal places. These are the people that you need to send as much information as you can ahead of time so they're ready to make the decision. They can do the analysis on their time. Now, one important thing to remember about this, D's and I's, we can treat them the same way. We hit the high points and ask for the order. The difference is with the I, we might have to take a minute to listen to a funny story. But we hit the high points and we ask for the order. With S's and C's, always remember that with the S, the meeting with the S is almost always going to end like this. Ron, I think this is a good idea, but could I have a little more time to think it over? Now, that's what they want, more time to get comfortable with the decision. So when they ask for that, what I do is I pull out one of my business cards and I write my cell phone number on it and hand it to them. See, the most important thing in the world to them is relationship, and I'm offering to give them inside connection to me. Here's my cell phone. It's not on my card. Everybody doesn't get it, but I'm giving it to you. What that means is that you're giving them the relationship. All they have to do is take it if they want it. That's a powerful, powerful thing you can do for the S. But the way you ask them for the order is always ask them to take a couple of days to think it over. How about if we have lunch again on Monday? And at the end of the meeting, that's what they're going to ask for. So ask them to do that for you before they even get there, and their mouth will drop open, and they'll be thinking to themselves, I can't believe this. Jen thinks just like I do. And that's going to make it easier for them to have that business relationship and become part of your team. Now, the C cannot make a decision for you until they've had time to analyze everything. That's why at the end of the meeting or the end of the call, it sounds like this. Mr. Keese, I think I like this idea, but do you have more information I could read about this? So what we do when we're working with a C is we send them all the information that we can ahead of the meeting. And yellow stuff, make some notes, yellow things. And by the way, when I'm working with the high C, especially a new high C that I've just met, never, ever handwrite a note. They're very formal people, and they like being treated formally. So type the note out. Use your email or use your word processor there, but type the note out. Don't handwrite it. So ask them to do the analysis on their time before they get to the meeting and want to take time then. See, once once we get to asking for the order, then anything they say besides yes or no costs me time. If they want to think about it, or if they want to analyze it, even that all costs me time. I'd rather have somebody tell me no so I could go on and find 3 more yeses than somebody that would just drag it out like that. So if we know who they are, we can help them by letting them make decisions the way they want to. Here's something else. With S's and C's, decision making is very difficult. So always, if you can, always make the decision making process as simple as possible. A simple yes or no. That's it. A simple yes or no. Don't ever give them an alternative, a Cadillac plan or a horse and buggy plan. That's too much information to analyze. That's too much information to think over and get comfortable with. Just give them a yes or a no, and then work from there. Now, when you're working with people, again, I said the key for you, I think, in your success is being able to get referrals. I want you to know that when you're working with D's and C's, you may never, ever get a referral. Because those people, you can look at that list of adjectives right down there at the bottom of the list. It says job-oriented, not friend-oriented, not family-oriented, not people, they're job-oriented. So the only people they know are people that are helping them get their work done. So they may not ever give you a referral. It does not mean that you're not doing a good job for them. It just means that they don't know many people to refer you to. But we keep asking. We keep asking those people. But when they say no, or when they don't respond, we don't punish ourselves. We don't make ourselves feel bad and worrying for a week about, why I'm not doing a good job for Mr. Keese. We've done everything. No, that's not it. He just doesn't know anybody to refer you to. So don't penalize yourself. The 90 or 95% of our referrals are going to come from I's and S's because they know everybody. Now, the I knows everybody by their first name, but that's enough to stop them in the hall and tell them a funny story. The S knows everybody, but they have 4 or 5 really close friends. S's are like eagles. They mate for life. And once you have a relationship with an S, if you get tired of that relationship, you'll have to take a stick and run that person off because they'll stay with you forever. So what we want to do, and I's and S's, by the way, are naturally supporting. They're naturally inclined to help you. They want to help you. So when you're talking to when you identify people as an I or an S, you should ask them for a referral every single time you talk to them. Every time. And when you bring people on board that are I's and S's, give them the confidence. The big thing about S's especially, now it's not that way with I's because I's will run to get out in front of the band to look like the leader of the band. So they have no problem meeting people and asking for the order, but some of our best relationship people are S's. And they know all these people, but they're kind of afraid. If I ask you to do something, if I ask you to join my team, if I ask you to start taking these supplements, if I ask you to do some coaching with me, if I ask you that, then I might put our relationship in jeopardy. Anytime you run into an S that you feel like that's what's holding them back, then talk to them about focusing on the referrals from those people they know. So that I don't get your business, but if I can get you to refer 2 or 3 people to me, and I do a really good job for those people, then what happens is that first person that referred me to those 3 people eventually calls me up and says, that it's working out so good. Why don't we do that? Why don't we? So we can get their business, but it's easier for them to save the relationship, and they can do that by going around kind of a backdoor approach and because S's and I's, people, it's the old story about how fish of the same size kind of swim together. And it's the same way. I's and S's enjoy being around I's and S's. And so they know a lot of people, and those people know a lot of people. So if you can get in there and get into that kind of group to be talking to about referrals, then there's no telling where your team can go from there. I want to take this. I want to take us back to the reader and look at how we read. We kind of talk about reading ourselves, but what do we do when we're reading other people? This works just as well with other people. Now, I don't know if I'm talking to somebody about taking our supplements and they're going to do a little business with us, but it may not be that important, and I don't know if I want to spend time doing this. But if I'm trying to get somebody to come onto my team, if I'm trying to grow my business that way, it's important that I know not only how to prospect those people, but how to manage them and how to motivate them once I get them on board. And again, I's and S's are going to be our top prospects, and D's are all about the bottom line. And if I can show you how you can make enough money and you and your husband can spend a week in Cancun or wherever the next let me show you how to do that. They're great bottom line people. And then just get out of their way. Just get out of the way and let them go. But C's, it's a very difficult thing for C's because it's a confidence factor again. Confidence factor, and yes, am I doing this, but do I have the analysis behind it? So if we can give them that, then we can get around that. But when we read somebody, D's, high points and ask for the order, encourage them to make a decision by giving them alternatives. I's, fun, optimistic, upbeat. The I's are very visual people. So if you can give them a 4-color brochure with tabs down the side, they love that kind of thing. S's, this is the one I want to go to lunch with and get to know. And talk about what this program has done for me and my family, and I can help you do the same thing. You always want to talk about we when you're talking to S's, because S's love being part of the team, and that's the way we want to approach them. We want them to be part of our team because here's what we do as a team. That's very powerful. Now, any questions that you have about anything that we've talked about here tonight? Any kind of profile? If you want to do a couple of these readers on a couple of your best prospects and fax it to me, my fax number is on the bottom of the sheet. It's toll free. Just make sure I get a cover sheet or email it. Make sure I get a cover sheet if you fax it, or an address, because I'm going to email it back to you. But what I'll do, all you have to do is select the adjectives, and then what I'll do is I'll draw the graph, and I'll put together an assessment and evaluation for you and send back to you that you can use to build a strategy to get that person on board. But if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. My phone number's on all of this stuff. Jen can get in touch with me anytime. Send me an email. If you would like, we're making kind of a special offer for Jen's team here. If you would like, for $30, we'll do an in-depth analysis of you, how you do things, how you communicate, how you work with people, and we'll put together an evaluation and talk to you on the phone a time or two if you'd like, just to help you get your business going to where it ought to be going, to get your business on the right track. And that whole process is $30. And Jen can again get you in touch with me, and we'll get you set up and get it working if you'd like to see that. Are there any comments or questions?
I just want to add in real quick. Mike and I have gotten the evaluation, and I know one of the things that we talk a lot about in our team call is having a supportive spouse as we build our business. And Mike and I both individually got the in-depth evaluations done through Ron, and it really helped us to be able to know how our brains work, because I am totally different than Mike, and like it gave Mike some knowledge onto how I receive information totally different than how he does. And so even like outside of Beachbody and outside of our business, it really helped us to be able to communicate with each other. And you guys know that I love the 4 love languages or the 5 love languages, and we talk about that a lot too. But this really helped us to know, like, this is why I do the things that I do, and this is why he does what he does. So it really helped us so much, both for like personal relationships and for business wise. So I would definitely recommend doing it. It's definitely eye-opening. And when you read it, you're like, how did he know that that's what I do? But it definitely, there's a lot of accuracy in it, and it's really valuable tool.
I've been doing this for 27 years now, and most of the pay that I get for it is being able to help salespeople be all that they can be, and doing that without joining the Army. So any opportunity that I have to, that's why we're making that process available at that rate. We'd love nothing more than to see every one of you take your team and go 2 or 3 levels above where you are.
Yeah, so we're getting close to an hour mark here, so we're probably going to cut this call off soon. But if anybody had any questions that they wanted to ask Ron right now, he's available for a couple more minutes, and then we are going to end the call, and I'll put the recording out. But if anybody had a question now, I think he'd be more than happy to answer that.
Sure.
Anybody?
I hope we didn't scare everybody off.
Well, I'll say something because I always do.
Okay.
I'm Sarah, by the way.
All right.
So, like, for me personally, I kind of tie with DINS. Depends on what hat I'm wearing and for what particular thing. It's funny because I'm married to Definite C. He's an engineer. That not at all. So, all
right.
You know, but there's
C's and S's get along really well because of they're both inclined towards the process part of it. But a couple of things, if we're married to a C, number one, we have to realize that 100% is the goal.
Yeah.
So if we have children, and A- might not be acceptable. So because that drive for perfection is so powerful. The big thing about living with a C is we have to help them try to understand that there are a lot of black and white areas, but a lot of life is gray, and some of it is not really as important as some of the rest. Now, as far as your behavioral style, you have the benefit of being able to work with almost anybody. Mm-hmm. Because S's, what I said, S's and C's can work. You can work with C's. It'll be kind of frustrating because they always want more information, but you can still work with that kind of person. And then you've got the D and the I up there to work with those fast-paced people. So you really may have a bit of a leg up on all your competitors because you can work with everybody. Now, what you want to do is make sure that you leave. See, the S needs to have some process and procedure. So you need to have a plan. You need to have a business plan that moves you in the right direction. But then you want to make sure that that plan has built-in flexibility, because the more we constrict or the more we control that D&I, the more frustrated they're going to become, until things start slowing down and we start getting kind of out of sorts and we're not really sure why, and then nothing's working. So have yourself a plan that builds in flexibility for the I to go out and make new friends, and flexibility for the D to ask for the order every time we talk to somebody.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Anyone else? I'm looking at people's faces to see if they're avoiding or not.
Any questions that you have, that send me an email and we'll talk on the phone, or maybe it's something simple I can answer on with an email. But don't let any questions be missed, because this is powerful. This is so powerful. One of my best clients is a young lady in Menlo Park. She's a financial advisor with Morgan Stanley. When I met her and we started working together back in the 90s, she was the top producer in their office and doing about $700,000 a year in production. Last year, she ended the year. We started about 5 years ago. We started building a team around her, because she's about my age. She doesn't want to work forever. And last year, she ended the year with $1.2 billion under management, and she's one of the top 50 financial advisors in the country. And she says it's because she's able to read her clients and prospects and understand what's important to them. So if I can get you to just try this a couple of times, and if you go through that assessment process with me, it'll be even clearer to you, even easier for you to use. But try it a couple of times and see what kinds of results you start to get, and then you'll want to do it all the time.
Yes. Awesome. Well, I will make a post in our group that gives, Ron's contact information is on those documents. I'll make a separate post just to make it a little easier to find. And I definitely encourage you guys to reach out to him. Like he said, he's more than willing to look at a profile of a specific person that maybe you're talking to right now about coaching or joining a challenge group. So definitely take him up on that. And, contact him about the in-depth profile as well. I think that would be really helpful to each of you guys to just know how your own brain works and how you can work with other people. So thank you again, Ron, so much for being on the call tonight. It was really awesome. And I know that we all got a lot of value off of hearing what you were teaching us, and we are excited to start inviting and asking for the sale and following up and those kind of things. So thank you again.
Let's go out and have a great year.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys. Well, I will get this up on YouTube and post the recording, and make sure you share with your teams. And I tried to do a screen share with the actual document that he was talking about at the time, but make sure that you also send along the document from our files tab if you're posting in your own coaching groups. So thank you guys for being on tonight. I hope that you guys found that helpful. Bye.